Arise, minions, and batten down the hatches as we leave behind the safety of the Humblewood to check in with the crew of Dark Fortunes.
Hello, I'm Rory, aka Final Gambit, and I'll be playing Silence Furuiken, level 1 Mapok Warlock.
Hi, I'm V Muse, and I'm playing Sionnach MacTyre, the level 1 Vulpin Fighter.
Hi, I'm Mike, and I'm playing Mimir Elderbrand, level 1 Corbin Bard.
Hi, I'm McLovin. I'm playing Auryn, the level 1 Servant Barbarian.
Hi, my name is Johnny. I'm the Dungeon Master. Welcome to the Dark Fortunes podcast.
Dames and Dragons.
iTunes user DM Nick says, I've listened to the Adventure Zone, and this ranks up there with it.
Dames and Dragons.
Tumblr user Squire Nani says, it's got the same wit, action, originality, and quirky humor that made me fall in love with the Adventure Zone.
Dames and Dragons.
Reddit user Ferris9K asked, what other D&D podcasts are worth diving into? Not expecting anything as good as the Adventure Zone.
Dames and Dragons.
Reddit user Cambita responded, Dames and Dragons.
Dames and Dragons.
A Dungeons and Dragons actual play podcast on Don't Split the Podcast Network.
Because you're all caught up on the Adventure Zone.
Previously on Dark Fortunes. The arena is in chaos. This is a show unlike any seen before in The Brother. The famed mercenary known as the Dirk is clearly no match for Sionnach, accompanied by her winged companion, cheering and jeering from the stands. But just a short distance away, Silence stands in increasingly hot water with the Sun Guards. All this unbeknown to Auryn, who is again earning the title of champion.
We are now with Silence. I'm so sorry, but you were the next in the initiative order, so that's where we are. All right. 3 Gerbine behind you. Mouse-like bodies, ears kind of twitching, angled down, navigating the steps, dashing towards you, glaives in hand, in pursuit. You're about 40 feet from the arena floor, or the arena lip. So essentially the bottom of the sort of the benches where the patrons all are around the arena, that is the Razor Den, towards that lip, and then there is a 20-foot drop to the floor. What do you want to do here? These Gerbine guards, these Sons of the Brother, are in high pursuit.
This is obviously terrain that they're familiar with, and also they are probably more athletic than the runt of the litter was, that is Silence. So he's going to try and change up his tactics. Instead of doing his Naruto dash down as fast as possible, he's going to have one hand on his wakizashi, his arcane focus, and use prestidigitation.
Say that 3 times fast.
I don't want to. I like not looking foolish or sounding foolish in this instance. So he's going to try and create a small illusion of an alchemical flask in his hand, like alchemical fire, the D&D equivalent of a Molotov cocktail. And he's going to hold it above his head as kind of like a threat to, if you continue following me, Gerbine, I am going to throw this Molotov cocktail behind me and you will catch fire, as he's continuing to, run down the stairs to the arena still. I'm not sure if you want a deception for that as well, or...
I feel like deception is probably one element that would work here, but or one skill that would work here, but I feel like intimidation is probably a better example. You are definitely...
Yeah. This is one of those, he's holding a thermal detonator situations. Ooh. That is a 19 plus 3. That is a 22. I'm really selling it.
Hold on. All right. So these Gerbine, these guards, these sons of the brother, apparently are not very smart. And so as you continue on, I'm assuming that you're grabbing on to your blade, the hilt of your blade with your right hand.
Yeah, essentially.
And your pace slows a little bit, but you raise this flask, it's sort of like this illusion in your left hand as it goes up. And the way that you're holding it, you continue your downward descent. And everything sort of like shifts and changes around the crowd as there is this sort of, like gasp that kind of collectively goes around. And you hear one of the Gerbine go, "Well, hold up. He's got something." And they all begin to kind of, slow down. As you continue your descent, the crowd is all looking at you. And there's, what is that? Do we need to run? And you're hearing just the murmur of the crowd around you just begin to kind of take focus on you. And for just a second, Auryn, the screaming stops from one section of the stadium. Just so you know, buddy, because you're in your moment, in your element, and the screaming stops. But so for Silence, you make your pace down, and it takes you, you are almost to the lip of the to the arena floor at this particular point. As you're able to kind of take in the situation, Silence has just kind of, or not silence, but there's a calm in that gasp is still sort of like as they're taking you in. And as you look back, you can see that the Gerbine are slowly advancing this now. They're not moving at the breakneck pace that they had once were. Do you want to do anything else?
No, I think that's good. You said at one point when I had first started, when I had utilized my gland and went down, that I heard a deep laughing in my head. And while going down the stairs, Silence would have kind of muttered to himself under his breath, like, "Don't you say a word."
Childlike laughter in response.
As is expected. Okay. And silence will be done then.
As we cut to Mim.
Cool.
So are you going to insult this guy again?
Yes and no. Mim, first of all, can I see, so Silence is now like towards the arena, right? Like he's like, do I see this kerfuffle out of the corner of my eye? If it requires a roll, I don't think I would see it, but is it big enough to?
What's your passive perception at this point?
Passive is 12.
All right. So yeah, you are definitely going to take some notice to what's going on. So as you're kind of assessing the situation and you're doing your thing, kind of paying attention and insulting this guy, you're hearing the cacophony of the crowd sort of going around you, screaming for that fight, all, kind of yelling about the people's champion. But it changes in tone as a sort of what feels like a sort of collective gasp shifts off to your left, because you're facing up towards the fight that is Sionnach and the Dirk, and so the boxes section is off to your left, and on the other side of that section is where Silence is, and so you hear this collective gasp and this sort of like change in tone, and it immediately draws your attention over that direction. You can't necessarily see Silence over, through the crowd, but what you do see is that somebody is holding aloft something that looks like a burning flask of something, and he's holding it aloft. And as all you can see is, I'm assuming that the fur on Silence on his arms is mostly black with maybe flecked with white, or is there like a stripe at all?
No, that's straight black. The only part of the white that's on him goes from, the tip of his nose, back of his head, down his back, and up
so
the
it's
tail.
Like it's like a midnight sort of a really dark kind of a thing. And I'm assuming that his paw as well is that the pads of the paw are also incredibly dark or black.
Yes, yeah. And the thing about it is that most of his armor will cover him. Anywhere that there is no armor, so halfway down the forearm to the wrist, the fur there is insanely puffy, as it like the armor shows his very small, almost frail form, and then as soon as the armor stops, it's just like this poof of fur.
And I'm assuming that the flask itself, besides the sort of the burning top part of it, is just like the normal color of a flask, sort of a darkish, sort of like earthy brown.
Yeah, or I would have tried to make it more nefarious, like a bright, almost neon green alchemist fire to make it, give it that little bit of fright to it.
So that's what you see, Mem, as you kind of look over, is you just see the top of his arm where the armor is, coming up, and there's that poof of fur, and then there's the hand sort of, the paw holding on to this bright green sort of illuminated thing. And it stands out in the crowd because it is a sickly sort of putrid sort of, bright green color burning.
Okay, cool. Curiosity, would I know that burning is like some kind of alchemical fire?
I'm not sure if I want you to have like a knowledge roll or if this is like a saving throw to see that this is prestidigitation.
Oh, interesting. I'm trained in Arcana. Would that
give me a roll, and it's gonna be pretty straightforward for you.
This is a 13.
Yeah, you are definitely not only going to recognize that the alchemical sort of reaction that is happening here is something that's supposed to imply like Roman fire, or something that's like a napalm kind of something that's going to be really deadly for the crowd. It's just going to latch on and burn whatever it was. But as you take it in, you begin to see through the illusion that it is, and you realize that it is definitely a trick, because it's almost like as the fire is kind of burning, it should burn a certain way, but you realize that you can actually see that the way it's shimmering, it isn't giving off any heat, and that helps you see through the illusion.
Okay. Oh man. That changes things slightly. So I know that this random person is like, I see that there's a pursuant of guards. They're clearly lying about having some kind of alchemical potion. How does Mim use this to his advantage? These are all things that are going through his mind.
I just got like this this sick feeling in the pit of my stomach, like this is an omen for how our relationship is going to be. You pulling this little innocent boy into your evil bardic machinations.
That is appropriate for any interaction with me in or out of character.
Wow.
So I have an ability called Convincing, specifically when it comes to Arcana. I have advantage on all charisma checks to convince anyone of my exceptional knowledge of magic. And I just rolled on Silence's spell. So I'm now wondering how exactly I convince the entire crowd that this person is doing exactly what they're trying to do.
All of a sudden, I'm a terrorist now. That's what happens. This is what's happening. Like, oh no.
Because this fight, I mean, it looks like it's going our way, but it's only a matter of time before guards realize that we're fighting in a crowd, and to the death. So it seems. So I need to get us out of here in the best way possible. And mass hysteria is usually a great way to blend into a crowd. Oh man. So seeing this out of the corner of his eye, Mimir has like a wicked just sneer across his beak. And he quickly reaches behind him and slides his now retuned lute back in front of him. And begins to start aggressively strumming on this thing and singing to the crowd about what is happening. And he says, he says, "This is the day that Dirk the Broken fell before the stands." Jesus Christ. The tiniest blade for the tiniest mouse will lie upon the sands.
Wow.
Mac the Tearbringer brings the fight. Here we are. See the light. And he is pointing to the light that is silence, kind of drawing everyone's eye towards that, while also casting Vicious Mockery and Healing Word on Mac. Yes, so DC 13 Wisdom save from you, Johnny, please.
Okay, so hold on a second here. You've got a lot going on. Let's sort of
So I'm so my intent here is to cast Vicious Mockery and Healing Word, which is a bonus and a cantrip. So that's possible. And if I can also deceive the people of the crowd,
right. So
which might be one too many.
Well, so this is a performance kind of a situation, right? But if you are doing deception or even potentially intimidation, it could be one of those two things. Yeah,
I'm definitely deceiving the crowd here.
All right. So if you're deceiving the crowd, then you can either do that or the Vicious Mockery, unless you can convince me how good Mim actually is, that he deserves to get this second action.
I mean, Mim thinks that he's the greatest. So, and so far, he's been nailing it. Every insult has landed. It turns out that Dirk, this wonderful mercenary, has all been talk. He has a real good PR agent. And when his blades have been tested, he has faltered heartily to a relatively unknown combatant here, just taking him down in the streets like a regular punk. So I think between the combat and the vicious, snide comments that Mim is throwing out, I think he kind of has the crowd, at least around him, the crowd's attention.
All right. So I'm going to give you it. I'm going to give you the opportunity to do both. But here's the other part of this that's really interesting, is that when Mim is under pressure, he finally performs. Because if you remember, he actually couldn't perform when posed to do so in a crowd in a tavern. So you are absolutely going to get your chance to screw this up.
Great. Cool. So DC 13 wisdom save for what's his name, Dirk.
Yeah, and he fails it.
Okay, so he's gonna take 3 points of damage, have disadvantage on his next attack, and Mac, you heal 7 points of damage with my Healing Word, my Song of Inspiring, and my Deception. Let's see here. So that was a 17 plus 5, and I have advantage. So 17 plus 5, so 22 to convince the crowd that there is something magical happening, or some kind of arcane sight happening down there with silence. Drawing their eyes to the guards and the terrorist. I'm so sorry.
Guys, this is
just an innocent
for
boy.
Anybody who's listening, this is what it's like to game with Mike. He screws things up on the small scale, but when it matters, he freaking ruins the entire game. Jerk. So this is literally your thing, right? Okay. At this point,
yeah. So he literally pulls the guitar out in front of the lute in front of him, and he's like, right? It's on a very aggressive lute chords, and he begins singing this chant, basically diminishing the power of Dirk, the Bladeless now, and calling him out as being a terrible mercenary, while bolstering this new combatant that he's named Mac the Tearbringer. Giving her an official title in the capacity of defeating the Dirk, and then pointing out that there's some other shit going down over here with this magical skunky boy and some guards.
All right, so all of that happens up with the Dirk and Sionnach. Talk to me about what happens in the local crowd. You can't affect the entire stadium. There's a lot of patrons here. There's a lot of the folk here. But you can affect...
And I'm sure the crowd's roaring as well.
Well, the crowd is kind of roaring and reacting, but everybody is beginning to notice that something is going on around Silence in that direction. There is a localized thing going on there, but now you've captured the ear and the attention of those that are around you. So basically, the section that is right around Silence has began to gasp and react. tell me how you use that. What's the reaction the crowd is going to have as they're taking note of what you're paying attention to as well?
I think it's been like sort of cheering, right, to see this combat kind of going, and now it begins like cheers, and then you hear like a roar of like Mac, and then he points out this other thing, and then the Mac begins to like sort of calm down to like a dull murmur of like what's going on over there, and then as people begin to see guards moving in, everyone sort of like is standing in their seats and like tapping the person next to them, and it kind of like slowly spreads out like a wave that people are seeing this situation going down over here.
All right. So as that murmur and like the attention begins to kind of shift and take shape, Sionnach, you hear the tone of the crowd really begin to kind of change around you as you can hear the song that Mim has sort of sung for you, and it just all of a sudden begins to shift. But as that insult like rings out as a part of the song that he has just sung, you can see that the Dirk's resolve is really beginning to sort of crack, and he's starting to kind of step back and realizing that he really cannot, continue this onslaught. He's bleeding. He's being insulted. It sounds like the crowd is going to turn against him, and you can just see the sort of the emotion sort of play across his face. And we're going to cut to the Gerbine. I'm sorry, Mim, did you want to do anything else? Did you want to actually wreck the game even more?
I mean, I'd like to summon magical spirits.
Yeah, you know what? All right, that's great.
So okay, no, I think I'm
all right. Good. So we're going to switch to the Gerbine, who are now taking a look at this particular situation. The guards, the sons of the brother, are looking down, really kind of hesitant, inching their way forward, trying to figure out what they're going to do. And at that point, one of them gets an idea and immediately darts the opposite direction. And you can see that it's dropped its glaive and it is dashing and scurrying as fast as possible. As the other two fan out, to take up the lane, thus cutting you off, glaives aimed down, leaning almost on the ground themselves, angled towards you. But they are not making a move otherwise as the third darts its way back up. It's clear he's going for help. As we shift to the top of the initiative order and come back to the People's Champion.
The Rock.
Hey. Everybody loves The Rock. Yeah, everybody loves The Rock, but it's Auryn's turn.
Yeah, do you smell what Auryn's cooking? It's Gnoll.
Auryn wishes he had that personality.
He does not. All right. Auryn just took a graze from him and said some verbiage at him.
Did he?
He did. He said, "Is that all you got?" In a very guttural tone. So at this moment in time, he's going to come bring the axe down on top of the Gnoll with a 22.
You need to put that die away and start rolling with a different die, because I'm really having problems with your rolls. Or maybe we should use... Seriously? Okay. Anyways. So he has pushed you at a distance. So describe to me how you close the distance again and kind of make this attack. Like bring us back into the moment where it's closer.
How far away am I from him?
He's kind of pushed you back, about 5 feet, using the glaive to, with his first attack, he got you, and with his second attack, he missed you. So he's kind of swinging back and forth, or maybe it was the reverse of the two, but he's swinging back and forth, trying to get you to get some distance, so he's able to actually, get some room to fight.
So at this moment, what he does is that as like the glaive light comes in and probably like nicked him on his arm, like right here as it's going past, he's bringing the glaive back, but he bats it with his great axe. And that's when he's bringing it back up and charging forward and bringing it down on him. Just getting back up in his face and doing 10 damage.
The blade comes in and nicks him in such a way that it cuts clear up his side, and you see that the guts are beginning to get exposed on the belly.
Oh, I was bringing it down on him.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Yeah.
So as you're coming down on him, the blade just sort of comes across him, but then it nicks him in such a way that the belly is beginning to be exposed, and you can see the sinew of muscle and tendons, just sort of right there around the ribs exposed. And you can just see a little bit of the intestinal sort of, package inside of the body there just being exposed as pain and a guttural scream kind of tears from this creature as he realizes he is in his death throes. He is going to die if he doesn't do something. Do you want to do anything else?
Stare at him with thunderous rage.
Okay. And so we're going to cut to the Dirk, kind of angling back, trying to figure out what he's going to do. Looking around, taking in the assessment of the crowd, looking Sionnach directly in the eyes. And he says, I am going to finish you. In this life or the next, I am going to finish you. And he moves in for the attack.
With disadvantage.
With disadvantage, thank you. First attack is a 12. Does not hit. All right, so he comes in, he kind of sweeps around and brings his rapier, just kind of reaching out, trying to angle you, but you're able to see it. He's so slow, he's so off balance that you're able to kind of anticipate what his next move is going to be, and he swings wide, and he makes his second attack as he brings it back around with a 7, and I rolled a 20 as the other one. He's angling and just trying to have you keep your distance at this point, and he's just swiping back and forth. It's clear that he is just on his last legs. He's unable to get anything to land, and he does not have the balance or the sort of physicality to have any control over his blade, his momentum, anything that's going on for him. And you can just see as the second blade swing comes back, he has lost all hope. He realizes that he has overcommitted and he is going to die. And we're going to cut to the Gnoll. Bleeding blade just have come up from above and sliced down on him. Just rage, pain, fear, and he is going to bring his glaive around and kind of slash out. And does he hit with a 16?
He does.
All right. With a 16, he kind of slashes around and he tries to bring his blade around and down on top of you. And he is going to... Hold on just a second. He is going to do... hold on 1 second. 5 points of damage.
So half that 2.
So 2. Okay. And then he's going to come around with his second attack as he kind of swings it around as he gets a little bit of distance from you, and he brings it around for a second attack and swings with a 15.
No, miss.
All right. And so with that second one, he telegraphed it again. He's in so much pain. He's having so much trouble going on, with his physicality. He's just unable to, kind of bring it in and, land a repeat blow. And it's clear that he is exhausted. He is on his last legs. He's bleeding out all over the place on his body.
As Auryn gets hit, and Auryn does not react to the hit at all. He is just moving forward, slowly gripping his axe and bringing in for what he thinks is his final attack, but I don't know. This guy looks very banged up, but.
All right. Yeah, as that blade, kind of comes around again, and Auryn just, kind of like readies up, ready for that, what he's feeling is going to be the killing blow. The guttural sort of look in his eyes. We cut to Sionnach sort of stepping back, dodging the Dirk's 2 swings. Moment of realization on his face as the second swing does not land, that the Dirk knows that he is going to die.
I could kill you right now. And you know it. Or you can owe me. Would you rather walk out with your life or watch yourself bleed out.
The blade sort of comes down to the ground after the second swing as you say this, and it just kind of, he's almost leaning on it a little bit. The tip of the blade, his rapier, is sort of off to the side, and you can see that his grip on it is such that he doesn't have control of it, and it kind of, rocks a little bit. And he looks at you, and he says, "My reputation is everything. This is where it should end one way or another."
You'd rather die by word of mouth than actually live.
What's a life to live if I can't earn my keep? My reputation is everything. And as he coughs, he spits up blood as it just kind of like lands, a globule of blood just kind of lands right in front of you, between the two of you. If you're going to give me an end, make it glorious. Have your friend write a tale about me. And he kind of, opens his arms up and just kind of gives you the opportunity to take your attack, take your kill.
I'm gonna roll and see if she actually does this. Odds she does, even she doesn't. Crap. That's an odd. So you'd see her eyes take on this almost melancholy look to them, and her mouth is turned down in frustration. She squares her shoulders, though, and you see the grip on her one scimitar tighten as she takes in a deep breath, and she'll walk over to the dirk, and she's slowly shaking her head back and forth. You can even see the feather sort of moving in the motion of it. And she tips the brim of her hat down to him and goes in for the kill. Theoretically. You want me to do a roll?
At this point, yeah, unless you fumble, it's a sure thing.
Oh, yeah, because she's got a 22 on that one. So she'll keep her eye contact with him. Here's to hoping the next life is even more glorious for you. And she'll finish that nick in the throat and quickly give him his last wish. But she'll sort of support his body as she feels it slump and shift him down to the ground and make sure he is lying there with his grip around his rapier, with that stone showing up for all to see.
In this life or the next, I will come back for you. And then he just, his eyes just sort of darken.
And she'll actually go to close them. Just remember, I gave you a choice. And then she'll stand back up and take the inside of her overcoat and wipe the blade clean of the blood from the last hit. And turn her back and look for Mimsy.
Hello, and if it pleases you, this is Silence Furuiken, and it is my honor to speak about Humblewood. Humblewood is an exciting new campaign setting for D&D 5e that includes original playable races, new monsters, magical items, and a compelling adventure for 1st to 5th level characters. Whether you wish to soar as the birdfolk, thrive amongst the forests as the humblefolk, or live as your very own woodland creature, Humblewood has something for everyone. Available now at deckofmany.com/darkfortunes.
So the crowd is now paying attention to your situation, at least immediately around you. Mimsy has done his thing and made them all pay attention to the glorious Mac the Tearbringer. Is that correct? Mac the Tearbringer. And there is a sort of a calm for a moment as everyone around realizes that the real fight that they've been watching has been this one. And there's actually just sort of this calm reverence as the blood begins to pool and begins to kind of creep out from under the body. And as you turn and look, you see that Mim is farther down in the crowd, strumming away at his stringed instrument there and causing a ruckus as a lot of the crowd around him is looking in the direction. And as you kind of follow the eyes and look in the direction that they're all looking, you see aloft above the crowd on an arm, mostly armored, a little bit of black fur, and in the paw, you see some sort of burning like alchemical thing that clearly looks dangerous. Having dealt with, been at sea and been as a part of fights, you recognize this as something that is incredibly dangerous, and should it land, will spread through the crowd very quickly.
Can I still see Tomlin?
You can't. The chaos of the crowd is kind of madness right now. And so there are people standing up on their benches, and that is obscuring your view of the boxes right now.
I'd start making my way back towards where I saw Tomlin and try to get myself lost in the crowd, quite frankly, seeing that blade. Okay,
so you step your way back down towards the crowd, making your way sort of through some of the onlookers and begin to kind of dig your way through where the people are standing on their benches in the direction that you know to be the boxes. And so with that, we're going to cut to Silence. Standing aloft at the edge of there's the lip into the actual arena floor itself. The crowd around you taking in the situation. You hear the tone of the crowd sort of shifting and changing as the gasp has gone to low murmur and concern. And you realize that off in your sort of the direction towards the boxes, towards your left, as you're facing the arena, there is more sort of shift in the crowd. And the cry from the other side of the arena is still about the people's champion. But the area directly around you has really begun to change. And as the sort of like weird murmured sort of gasp, Silence kind of, changes and shifts, you hear the ringing out of a voice singing of the glory of somebody named Mac the Tearbringer. And then subsequently, a reference to what you assume is the object that you are supposedly holding in your hand.
First off, Silence is immediately enamored by music, and he will look up and go, "What?" And can he perceive that what he has done immediately? Like, can you see the shock on the crowd immediately around him to know that he may have gone a little overboard?
He would definitely be aware that this all changed as he held this object, this prestidigitated object aloft in his paw. And so as you continue to make your move forward towards you to the lip, as you were doing this, and you noticed the reaction of the Gerbine guards, you also took in and recognized everything that was going around you in respect to the reaction of the crowd. So yeah, you are very aware.
Silence would definitely like to cast Prestidigitation again. And as he lifts this small illusionary alchemical flask into the air, it kind of almost harmlessly, like a small green firecracker, just kind of like a... And as he would want to jump over this lip, and like at the same time, just like that wasn't real, and jumps over the lip, kind of be like, "I'm sorry, I did that."
All right, and so as you take your step and you leap over, and this pops, sort of visual pops, the crowd gasps even more for just a second, and then there is this gigantic sort of cheer as everyone around you just sighs with relief and marvels at the magic that they just saw. And you leap over and you find yourself landing right at the edge of this arena, on the ground there. And you land and you realize that the area around you is made of like carved stone from it's quarried from the ground around you. And the dirt under your feet feels like sand on a beach. And as your feet kind of sink into it just a little bit, you're able to kind of take in the rest of the situation around you, and you see the fight that is happening right in front of you. That is Auryn and the Gnoll just, brutally kind of attacking each other, and Auryn just, kind of devastating this Gnoll. You've got probably one more, step, or, you've got probably maybe a bonus action or something to be able to do here. Otherwise we're going to shift on.
Could I quickly check to see if there is an exit nearby?
You would definitely be able to take that in. There are 2 exits to this arena. The arena is about 100 feet in diameter, and you are about 30 feet from one door, and that would be the door out of which Auryn came from. And across the arena, probably a good 70 feet along the sort of the outside of this place is the other door. And they're both sort of these sort of wooden, like heavy doors that are both closed with like slits where you can actually see in or out of this sort of this area, that they're covering, but they're both closed.
Silence would definitely make his way toward the door, the gated entrance that Auryn had entered in from, and his head is whipping back and forth between trying to take in the fight that Auryn is doing exceptionally well at, and trying to take in the bard who was also singing exceptionally well. And he's just like, oh my god, a fight, this is really cool. Oh my god, a bard, I love music. Oh my god, a fight. And just back and forth whipping his neck as he's trying to make his way towards the exit.
Okay. And so as you begin to crawl along the side of the arena, making your way towards the closest door to you, we're actually going to cut to Mim.
Now, Johnny, I know that the Dirk's blade identifies him as who he is, right? And I know that he's from Den. Do I know anything, especially seeing it in combat, do I know anything about this blade? Like, obviously, it would have a high selling price. Is there anything unique about it that Mim would think would be useful down the line?
Why, of course, there would be plenty of uses for it besides selling for it, and you could use it as your own weapon. I mean, it is a nice rapier. It's of quality, right? It's definitely a quality blade. But you also recognize that it probably represents something of the family that the Dirk comes from. Usually a blade of this quality with this type of easily identifiable kind of a thing would probably represent either at least a family heirloom, if not the family blade, if not, maybe have a name in and of itself, among the larger society. What you do know about Den is that it is a proper kingdom. There is a monarchy, and there is a royal court, and there are, royal families that are a part of the court and all of that. So you definitely think that it might have significance more than just the actual value of the blade itself and potentially the jewel.
So the thoughts of cartoon dollar signs appear in Mimir's eyes as he thinks of the potential for ransom or profit in selling this blade to other people, or the trophy it stands to garner in the newly named Mac the Tearbringer, and seeing her run towards the boxes and remembering what they were here for to begin with, because he's been having a great time. He quickly dashes up to the body, and as he goes by it, he slides the blade up and then quickly sheaths it where his weapons are, or his instruments are, and then begins to take off after Sionnach.
So you take the blade itself, but you don't take anything else, like its scabbard, its sheath.
What's the crowd doing? Is the crowd like starting to like move when they see like the whole silence situation going on? I imagine the crowd's kind of like descending on this corpse.
Well, so the crowd is kind of trying to figure out what's going on, and there are calls for the guards, for the sons to come and take care of this. There are others that are turning and paying attention back towards the crowd itself, where Silence is. And you as you're making your way up and grabbing for the blade, you hear the crowd give a collective sort of sigh and cheer, and you hear calls for again, as if something has happened that really caught their, sort of their attention. So most of the focus is really not on you right now, except for those immediately around the Dirk. And even then, they're kind of distracted.
Before he like starts to run up there, he quickly whispers, "Get that off of him." And his unseen servant begins to like unbuckle whatever is holding on, like the scabbard to the belt. And then he runs up there, grabs the blade and the scabbard as one, and kind of like yanks, and he kind of does that whole like he pulls the whole belt off in one kind of go, because it's unbuckled now. And he looks to the crowd and then shouts, "Mac the Tearbringer!" and then charges towards wherever Sionnach had gone.
You dart up, grab the blade, grab the scabbard, slide the blade into into it, turn, and immediately make your way back towards where Sionnach has gone. I'm assuming you don't want to do anything else. That was pretty significant. Okay, all right. So you do, and you kind of begin to follow her into the crowd that is sort of standing on their benches around where the box is, as we cut to the Gerbine. Now, the two Gerbine that were following along and sort of guarding Silence's exit, Silence can no longer see, but he can hear them as they scramble toward the lip of the arena and start to call out for Auryn to take on the new challenger. And Auryn, you recognize this as a tradition. If anybody enters the fight and falls into the pit, you are the crowd demands that you take on the new challenger that has entered the arena. I have made a
terrible mistake.
It's such a beautiful mistake.
I'm not from here.
Neither am I, but it's so much fun. But so you can see that they're like kind of like angling and looking at you. And Auryn, you hear the call from the guards, the sons of the brother, and they're calling, new challenger, as the crowd slowly begins to pick up the chant.
I'm still fighting the Gnoll, right?
That is correct. To which point we cut back to the top of the initiative order, and you've got this bleeding sort of like ridiculously just, bloody gutted Gnoll who is just on his last legs as you begin to hear the call for new challenger as the crowd begins to take it out.
I am not paying attention to the crowd right now. I am just devastating the Gnoll, or trying to. And I was like walking up very nonchalantly and just like across the Gnoll with that great axe, with that sound effect. An 8. 3 + 5.
So you walk up with complete confidence that this is the killing blow. This is the final move. As you're walking up, you are literally playing up the moment in your head and in your physicality. You are taking this moment to really sort of savor into this attack. And because you did that, you fell into the whole telegraphing situation. So it became very obvious what you were doing very quickly. And as the swing comes, the Gnoll shifts to the side and, ducks a little bit as the blade just kind of swings past it, leaving you exposed as it makes ready to move in for the attack. To which we go to the Gnoll's attack because the Dirk is no longer here. And the Gnoll moves in with its moves in with its glaive and swings and misses with its first attack as it kind of like shoots out, reacting very quickly, but then sort of tries to correct itself by making a second attack, which hits with a 17, if I believe. All right. With 17, it then does 10 points of damage.
5. Okay.
All right, so it comes in and just kind of like it swings and misses the first time and kind of comes back and reacts and brings the blade back down the second time and kind of slices you, on, sort of like across the shoulder, creating a little bit of a gash, and there's some blood sort of beginning to flow from you.
Attack did a number on me, so like blood starts pouring from me a little bit as like the crowd starts chanting and probably distracts Auryn a little bit enough where he messed this up. So that's what Auryn looks like. He's got like a blood, and like his fur is very much like matting up with blood at the moment.
Okay, so as that's sort of beginning to set in, you're taking a step back for a second. You see the eyes sort of like begin to recognize that you have taken, a significant amount. You've taken a significant hit, and that's when it just begins to growl even more, and the froth begins to come as it realizes it may have a chance here, and it sort of hunkers down, ready for, to move in with the next attack, as we cut to Sionnach, looking through the crowd, trying to make her way to the box. How are you approaching this situation? You're in a place where, so there are stone benches where the patrons would sit when they're not in one of the boxes. These stone benches are, probably, a good 2 to 3 feet high, enough for, an average height person, to have, plenty of like, sort of like the ability to bend their knees and kind of sit correctly. And you've got folks, from all, walks, around the Gulf, who are just like sitting here or standing here, kind of like looking at the situation and trying to pay attention as you hear a collective sigh of relief and a cheer happen as the crowd's disposition just sort of like becomes even more animated, kind of providing you with a lot more cover to the situation. How are you approaching this?
So everyone's mostly standing up then?
Mostly standing up on their benches, but they're really distracted, and it's catching a lot of the attention of the crowd itself, giving you a clear sight towards the boxes, but you can't actually see the boxes yet because you can't see around all these people.
I'm going to take advantage of them standing up and cheering and zip along the open bench areas behind people and try and get closer, because I want to try and get eyes on Tomlin at this point.
All right. As you come up and behind and around towards the backside of the boxes, you see that there are, essentially it's like a grid of 9, and that when you saw where Tomlin was with the Corvum, he was seated in the center box. That box is now empty. The rest of the boxes are not empty, but they're clearly there's a little bit of panic and concern about what was going on there, and there's all kinds of exits. And so as you take in the crowd and kind of like assess the larger situation, you can't see the Corvum and you can't see Tomlin, but you can see the servant who is acting as guard in that box, towering over the crowd, moving in the direction away from you towards the next section and where the stairway is. Basically where Silence was with the Gerbine. Like you can see that servant is like angling away and trying to move in that direction, and he's clearly got people that he's with. But you can only see the servant. You can't see above the crowd and see that whether the Corvum and Tomlin are with him.
Well, shit. And Mimir, do I see him?
Yeah, you see him, sort of like slinking his way up behind you.
All right. Yeah, she's going to be locked and loaded on Tomlin is the thing at this point, especially now that the box has been emptied out. So sort of tossing a glance over to Mimir and sort of like nodding my head in the direction of the form I'm noticing, I'm going to start moving in that direction further until I'm out of distance.
are you approaching this obviously, or are
Darling,
you
I'm
being,
never
are you being
obvious. I'm
stealthy
always
about
stealthy. Okay.
it? Then I need a roll.
That's going to suck with an 8.
Mimir, I got a quick question for you. When you approach Sionnach, how are you approaching her? Is it obvious, or are you being subtle?
What was the phrase again? Darling, I'm never stealthy. I'm always obvious.
So it's not you that actually causes, the loss of the sort of the situation and the stealthy nature. It's Mim's sort of approach that catches a bunch of people off guard because he grabbed the sword of the Dirk, and that grabbed the attention of the crowd around him, to which point they all started to kind of panic a little bit as he's taken the Dirk's sword. What is he going to do? Oh, he's and there's just this disruption that
he's
happens.
Singing his way over there.
And so
Mac the Tearbringer.
all right, so give me the song.
The Tearbringer, a single blow.
You freaking Witchered me!
I don't understand the reference you're making. I don't.
So you hear the commotion coming from behind you, Sionnach, and you look back, you see him approaching, and you realize that this is not going to work for you, and you turn back and you realize that the servant has taken note of your position inside of the in the crowd. And at this point, stealth is no longer possible, as you can see that its intent is now kind of turned and focused on you. Whoever is actually with him is moving off farther beyond him as he kind of looks in your direction. Do you want to do anything else before we move on to silence?
Turn myself back around to Mimsy, and with gritted fangs and teeth, do you ever travel quietly?
I absolutely do not travel quietly. There seems to be no point in it. If someone's going to attack you, they might as well do it. There's no this stealth. Why be stealthy? You're Mac the Tearbringer. And he
the crowd goes
I'm
wild.
absolutely about to bring tears on. And I just sort of lock eyes with him and tilt my head a little bit.
What are we doing?
Well, we were supposed to try and get over to wee little Tomlin.
What's a Tomlin?
Tomlin's a little boy who helped get you tied up and bound.
Oh, so we can bring tears to him as well?
No.
Oh.
Because he's working for a very bad man.
So is he.
Yes.
That's it. I just was making sure you were aware of it.
All right, so we're stating the obvious then.
Yes.
Wonderful. Anything else you'd like to declare that's clear as day?
I need more words that rhyme with tear. So if you think of any, let me know and I will try to work them into the song I'm writing.
How about fears?
Fears is a great one. Mac the Tearbringer. No, the Tearbringer. It's bringer. I think I need the words with. Anyway, I'll follow your lead. And he begins to walk behind her.
Oh dear God, she is like pinching at this point the bridge of her muzzle, and you can just see like she's trying so hard not to do this internal screaming. But at this point, it's more keeping an eye on the Corvum. Or what is it? Corvum, right? Servant. I'm combining. Sorry.
No, servant.
So the servant.
It's all good. The servant. Yeah, this 6 foot, two sort of. Like he's got maybe 6 or 8 points on his antlers. He's no Auryn, but he's a close second kind of a thing.
So going to keep him in the corner of my eye, but make it look more like we're going to regroup and watch the fight itself.
All right, excellent. So we cut to silence on the floor of the arena. The crowd is now cheering wild. The action that's going on between the Gnoll and Auryn is still captivating everybody's attention, but the Gerbine behind you are still chanting and getting the crowd to continue to change its tune. Challenger, challenger. And it's just like it's beginning to build around you to the point that it's a little unsettling. You're about 20 feet from the door.
Silence was looking up at the Gerbine who just started the chant, and his neck is like slowly rotating to look at Auryn and realizing that he had made the most horrific mistake possible. How does Auryn look right now?
Auryn is looking, he just took a hit as he got distracted by what happened. And he missed with his own attack and took a pretty heavy attack from the Gnoll. And he's like starting to bleed out a little bit.
Are there any like identifiers on Auryn, like old shackles or something that would imply that he had, been in this servitude?
Not so much. Right now, you would just see that he has, like, in his fur, that you would see, like, old scars across his body. And he has just, like, you would see, like, the gladiator armor that he has on, which is, like, just, like, on his, like, left arm. And, like, kind of, like, ornate, like, design. But, like, even from this distance, you know that it's not really protective at all. There's no such like and I'm trying to think if there would be anything else. No, there wouldn't be any like shackles for how they handled him or anything like that. Just that he is very much scarred and just fighting.
Yeah, Silence, I don't think you'd be able to put two and two together to be like, oh, this is a fighting pit, and indentured servants, gladiators are there for sport. So you're a sportsman as opposed to someone in indentured servitude in his eyes. So he did just see you get hit really hard, or that you have been hit really hard. So he wants to like do you a favor, be like, I can help you if you help me. So he will swing out his small wakizashi blade. And as he does so, this ray of purple crackling energy shoots out from it and will attempt to strike the Gnoll. Before he does, though, he will, as a bonus action, apply his Hexblade's Curse onto the Gnoll.
Hold on just a second. So this is a situation where you're going to try to move into melee range and actually make this attack?
Or is this something that Blast I'm casting?
Right. Okay. Just confirming. All right.
So
go ahead.
Beforehand, he's going to Hexblade's Curse on the Gnoll, and then in that one fluid motion, pull out the wakizashi, this small short blade at his hip, and as he does, this purple ray kind of shoots from out of the blade, crackling with this purple pulsing energy. Kind of like if you put up pop rocks is why I imagine like the sound and feel of it. And I suppose I'll roll for that. Unless you just want it to hit. Do you want it to just hit? That'd be nice.
Oh, no, I'd love for you to roll. I'd like to see what happens that.
Well, that is actually a 19, but since I put my curse on him, any attack roll I make on it is a critical hit on a 19. So that is considered a critical hit then.
All right. So I'm going to narrate what you see in front of you as the energy kind of hits, and then I want you to narrate for me what happens when this Gnoll dies.
Okay. Would you like me to roll damage?
Okay. No, it's at this point let's talk about a little house rule that I like to call when you crit, you do full damage. So I think that's what we're going to go with. That's what I like. I think it works well. So You see, as you're doing this, you turn and you see this sort of scene in front of you, and you pull your blade and the energy kind of flows out from you, right? But what you see in front of you is two combatants, both bloodied, one looking incredibly sort of just bloodied and torn, guts beginning to spill out, blood sort of pouring down the side, fur matted, snarled sort of like dog-like mouth, frothing, guttural, desperation all in his face. And on the other side, you see Auryn, the servant, somewhat bloodied, looking tired, looking like the fight is just had a turn of circumstance. And so they are mere feet from each other, facing off as they're ready for to move in with their next attack. It's almost like a moment pause, and so your energy is going out and it's flowing towards the Gnoll. Now describe to me what it's like when this Gnoll gets hit with this eldritch blast and then dies.
It's that moment when two swordsmen kind of like pass between each other, like in an anime. It's just like shink shink, and then there's a moment before one of them kind of goes down, and you figure out like who had done it, who had the best attack in that moment. And so once his wakizashi goes out and this beam strikes the Gnoll, it's almost as though he was hit with a blade that just goes across his chest, and the flow of blood just kind of splatters out the other direction, kind of like away from Auryn. And then Silence will have immediately resheathed the blade. And at that point, we'll give the Puss in Boots, like that like the saddest little eyes looking up to Auryn, and if allowed to, would make a persuasion check, and all Silence will say is, help. As in, like, I am lost. I have no idea what's happening. Please help me.
All right. Screw the persuasion check. I want you guys to RP this situation in this particular moment. You guys can't necessarily have a direct conversation because of the distance. It's not going to be easy for that. I want more sort of an emotional exchange and words that happen. But for Auryn, what you see setting up this particular situation, as you are ready to move in for your next attack, and the Gnoll is ready to move in with its next attack, that attack happens, you see the blood spatter, and you watch as the life just completely disappears from the eyes of the Gnoll. And you turn and you look in the direction and you see Silence.
As that attack happens, I kind of want to narratively be like, Auryn was not stopping his attack just because the Gnoll died. Like, through his rage, he sees like the Gnoll like lose like consciousness, and he's bringing his axe and he just brings it across his neck and clings off his head, and then swings around and then is just like hulking and holding like his axe after the attack, and he sees Silence giving the sad puppy eyes, and he sees not Silence, but kind of like Silence, but also Milo, and then he also sees the servant child at the same time, like all kind of fluctuating in the faces, and he looks at him and he nods, and then he looks at the door and begins moving his way towards the door. And I'll wait for my turn to kind of push on that one.
You see this happen, Silence. All of this sort of like happens in a moment. You hear the call from the crowd continue to build about Challenger. You see the visual, you see the moment of meeting the eyes with Auryn. You're not sure that he completely recognizes you, but it almost feels like he dismisses you in that moment. And you see him begin to move directly towards the door. What do you want to do here?
That was the door I was going to anyway. And Silence is like, he seems like an authority figure that I respect now. You know, he gave. Silence wasn't sure. I mean, he was relatively sure, but his attack, he wasn't sure if it was clean enough. And, you know, Auryn had finished the job lopping this dude's head off, the Gnoll's head off, and Silence can see, respect, and understand power. So wherever Auryn is about to go towards the door he was originally going to go to is where he is going. So he'll kind of like pep up his step and try and follow behind Auryn, not getting in front of or to the side, behind him.
All right. We're going to cut as the camera's going to cut as we move. We move as we watch sort of Silence kind of step in behind, and begin to kind of like, fall in step behind Auryn, a couple of paces behind, as Auryn is pushing his way towards the door. As we cut to Mim, sort of stepping up behind Sionnach after this conversation has happened. As the crowd is continuing to shift and change around you, it was this sort of dynamic of like paying attention to the fight between the Dirk and Mac the Tearbringer. Then it was, the focusing on sort of the weird sort of like object of the person who was walking through the crowd. And it's just like, it feels like the crowd feels malleable right now to you, but there's a new call coming from that same direction across from the boxes on that other stairwell. Challenger. And then all of a sudden it begins to shift. No, the fight must continue. There is a challenger, and there's this call that kind of goes up as the crowd really begins to shift and turn really sort of aggressive, calling to the arena floor.
So I can see Sionnach moving towards this servant, right?
You can, after that little exchange the two of you had, you're now both in a situation where it's slowly moving in your direction, trying to get through the crowd, and Sionnach is moving in that general direction, as I understand it.
Do I recognize this servant as the nameless goon?
You recognize this servant as the nameless goon who was with the Dirk in your meeting.
And I can't see who he's bringing with, who he's like wading through the crowd with, just that he does have people moving with him.
He did have people moving with him, but it's clear that he's moving back in the direction towards Sionnach at this point.
Okay, so they're coming towards us?
You can only tell that the servant is moving in your direction. You can't tell anything else about the crowd, the people that the servant was with.
I don't like that. Cool. I would like to look around. I want to see if I can find these people that like, I know he was a guard for the man who tied me up, and I'm not super keen on being tied up. Also, I was promised more knowledge than I was given, and I, always follow through on a deal. So I'm looking for his Corvum boss.
So you actually can't see through the crowd at this particular point unless you change your vantage point in some way, shape, or form.
Are we near the boxes?
You are close to the boxes, but you're not close enough to be able to see through the crowd and see across to the other side.
Is there anything that I can climb up onto?
People. You could step up on top of a bench.
That's fine. People are also tradable goods sometimes. He doesn't really care about them. He has a mission. He had a job. He wants payment. Who gets in the way is inconsequential. Clearly, the Dirk is dead as a result. And so, yeah, he will climb on top of like a bench, like the back of a chair, like put one clawed foot on top of a person and like stand. He's trying to get as high as he possibly can. Because first of all, he knows that Sionnach just fought the Dirk, and that probably took a lot out of her, and that's a giant 6'2" servant who had muscles for days. So I don't know that we're a good competition for him. But if he's moving towards us, then that means the master is alone. So yeah, he's going to climb up on top of people, whatever he needs to do to get high enough to see.
All right. So as you step up and kind of like, find your way on a bench and kind of looking up and around and looking in that general direction, you see the servant make eye contact with you, recognizing you for just a second, and then turning back his focus on Sionnach. Behind him, you see moving through the crowd. It's really hard for you to see at first, what actually, is, because there's so many people, shifting and kind of moving around. But then you see two figures kind of clear to the other side of the, to where the stairway is. And you see them beginning to kind of make their ascent as the core of them kind of looks over in your direction and makes eye contact with you. And that's when recognition passes through his face and you see anger. And it is just this absolute sort of like intense sort of like response, realizing that something has critically gone wrong. And that's when he grabs and just yanks who's ever with him along by the collar. And that's when you see, for just a brief second, the boy who betrayed you, the boy who manipulated you, the boy who Sionnach is actually here for, being sort of pushed forward. And you see the core of him sort of bark at this kid.
At this point, I think Mim... How far away are they from where I am?
They're probably a good 40 feet away from you at this point.
Mim cocks his head to the side, and again, that same hand appears on Sionnach's arm and kind of like gives her a tug, as again, he leaps forward, and glide lets me move 60 feet. So I am gliding down the crowd and landing in front of this courtroom.
As you jump up and begin to, you make your sort of jump and try to do your ascent, you feel a pull on the back of your sort of body. And you kind of are yanked back, and you're feeling kind of yanked back down. And you're having struggle as you're trying to glide that direction. And you kind of lose your balance a little bit as you're gliding, and you get pulled in sort of a general sort of downward direction, and your glide doesn't really take off in the way that you want it to, and you land very close right in front of the servant. And that's where we're going to end it.
Oh boy.
Dark Fortunes is an unMadeGaming production and a proud member of the Don't Split the Podcast network. If you would like to learn more about the world of Dark Fortunes and get some behind-the-scenes looks, please join us on Patreon at patreon.com/unMadeGaming. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please take a minute to give us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes. Thank you for joining us on this high seas adventure, and we'll see you next time on Dark Fortunes.